I remember when I entered my bedroom, out of nowhere, I ended up seeing 3 boxes. And I didn't know what they were because they were wrapped in like some gift wrapping. So I looked over at my girlfriend and said, wait, what are you doing here? And what are in these boxes? Open it and find out. And at that moment, I opened all 3 of them and I looked at her and said, wait, how did you afford all this? And at that moment, I realized my girlfriend never runs out of money. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba and welcome back to another insane but crazy story. Now, today's story all takes place back in my grade 9 year. Now, in grade 9, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a pretty quiet, but at the same time, pretty average kid. I never really did much with my life other than play video games and, well, hung out with the boys and do some crazy stuff. But honestly, one thing I can say was that I was a big helpless romantic, meaning that, you know, if I met some girl that I wasn't interested in at first, the chances were with the right moves, I could probably end up liking her and think she's the one for me. It was really easy for me to change my mood about a certain chick, and honestly, it was really, really bad. But then I remember one day when I was walking down the school hallway, I ended up seeing a girl that a lot of people knew about in my high school. She was super well known because of what her father was. And to be honest, I didn't know who her dad was at all, to be honest. All I knew was that her father was like someone really important, which I never really cared about because like, who cares what your daddy does? I only care what you do. But going on with the story, I remember when I saw this girl in the hallway, I ended up seeing her moving with her friends like a pack of wolves throughout the school. And I thought, you know what? Like, she's actually pretty attractive the moment I actually got to see her without being crowded by a bunch of other girls that were her friends. And I thought maybe one day I could possibly talk to her. And then 4 weeks later, somehow and in some way, I remember I was walking into the cafeteria and I saw her sitting down by herself, not with a group of girls, not surrounded by anybody, and no guys talking to her, which was really rare to see. So I thought, you know what? Maybe I should actually take this opportunity and go talk to her. So I walked up to her, and when I walked up to her, I looked at her and said, oh, so like, what you doing? Oh, I'm just reading. Why, what's going on, Bubba? Wait, you know who I am? Yeah, we have the same social studies class. Oh, right. Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize. Me and her, we both sat down, we started talking about class and like, you know, basically talking smack on some of the students that were really weird in that class. But then I decided to ask the question that was honestly in my mind, and that why was she alone? So I looked at her and said, wait, so do you usually sit alone in the cafeteria reading books? What? Oh, no, to be honest, all my girlfriends are all hanging out with their boyfriends, and honestly, like, I could care less. Wait, so you're single? Yeah, if I wasn't, I'd be hanging out with my boyfriend, wouldn't I? Right. I see what you mean. And at that moment, I decided to basically shoot my shot, and that's when I said, so, I mean, if you're not busy right now, do you want to, I don't know, maybe go to the mall? Right now? Well, yeah, there's nothing else to do here. And there's also some things I want to look at. Oh, I mean, sure, we can go to the mall. So me and her, we ended up getting up and we ended up leaving towards the mall. We ended up walking across the street since the mall was super close to my school back when I was in high school. And as we were walking, me and her were just talking about life and stuff. And honestly, for some reason, she really had a lot to talk about. But one thing I really noticed about her was that she never really liked talking about her father. Now, once again, I did not know anything about her dad whatsoever. All that I knew was that he was a really important person. Don't know what he did for work, didn't know anything. But she kept bringing up her dad in our conversations as if I knew who he was. And that's when I finally decided to look at her and say, oh, well, to be honest, like, I don't really know what your dad does, but that's cool, I guess. Wait, what? You don't know my father? No. Why? Should I? This is only the first time we're hanging out. No, I mean, no, it's good you don't know him. I'm just surprised. You're surprised I don't know your daddy? Well, no, not like that. Like, I don't know. It's just weird. I didn't expect you to not know him. At that moment, me and her finally got to the mall, and me and her, we started walking around, and the first place I usually go to when I go to my mall back when I was a kid was GameStop. If you guys don't know, GameStop was super popular back then because not everything was just a digital download like it is nowadays, which was the good old days, I'm not gonna lie. And basically, I remember I ended up going inside GameStop and she looked at me and said, oh, you play video games? Well, yeah, it's kind of part of my entire life, is what I told her. And I started looking at the games in the Xbox 360 section. At this time, next-gen consoles did come out, but I wasn't able to afford the next-gen console. So I remember when she saw me looking at the Xbox 360 games, she looked at me and said, wait, Bubba, you didn't get a PS4? What? Oh, no, I didn't. To be honest, I don't know what next-gen console I want, so I just didn't get it yet. Okay, well, why don't you just buy all 3 and see which one you prefer? What? Buy all 3? I can't do that. I'm not rich. Maybe if my parents gave me a better allowance, I would. At that moment, this girl looked at me really weird, and she kind of tilted her head and said, wait, so you're telling me you really don't know who my dad is? At that moment, I looked at her and I'm like, no, I have no idea who your dad is. Like, what's the big deal with your dad? Baba, are you lying to me? No, I swear on my mom, bro, I don't know who your dad is. At that moment, she just kind of went silent. She didn't want to say anything. She didn't want to say anything more or less. She just stood there looking at me. And I kind of just ended up not caring. Because, like, it's not like I'm about to meet her dad or anything. Anyways, after I picked up a game from GameStop, I ended up walking around the mall with her. We ended up getting some food. And that's when she told me, so, Bubba, I'm confused. Why are you single? Oh, I don't know. I guess I haven't found the right one yet. And at that moment, she started asking me about my type and what kind of type of girls I like. And I kind of just ended up describing her just as a joke. But she actually ended up taking it seriously. And then that's when she said, Bubba, is it like maybe a good idea if like, I don't know, me and you would go out again one time? Like on a date? Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, sure, I'm down. Just say when. At that moment, she ended up basically smiling and then her phone ended up ringing. When her phone rang, I saw it was her dad calling, and at that moment, I didn't know what to say. But then she ended up picking up the phone and she ended up like talking to her dad for a bit, and then she looked at me and hung up the phone. She said, oh, I have to go. My dad's outside. You want to walk me out? Yeah, sure. So me and her, we ended up walking to the front of the mall, and then I ended up seeing this giant black SUV that was like super expensive, by the way, pull up, and it was her dad in the driver's seat. And then out of nowhere, I ended up seeing her hug me, and she went to her car and basically went away with her dad. At that moment, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if like, you know, her dad was going to be an issue, but honestly, I'll say this. So far, I wasn't complaining. But what happens next? Honestly, it was crazy, because I remember the next day when I got to school, apparently every girl in the school heard about my date with this girl, because literally, I am not joking. Throughout the school day, I would have girls come up to me saying, oh my goodness, like, did you go on a date with her? Like, what'd you guys do? Did you guys like finally become official? Like, they were all asking me these dumb questions. And then one girl ended up asking me if I knew her dad. And I just like really did not care and kind of felt really weirded out. And that's when I basically told them all the same answer. We went to the mall and I just bought a video game. And every time I would say that, they would just go silent and think I was some weirdo. I remember I really didn't care at first, but then out of nowhere, I ended up getting a text on my phone. It was from the girl I ended up going out with yesterday. And she ended up texting me saying, Bubba, I was just wondering, can I take you on the best date of your life? Sure, I guess. I don't know how you would do that, but I'm down. Okay, sweet. After school, meet me at the front. At that moment, I was really confused on why she wanted to give me the best date ever, but honestly, I wasn't complaining. The whole day, I was super excited, and a lot of my friends apparently knew that she was going to take me out today, which I really didn't understand how they knew. But then when after school finally came around, I remember I ended up meeting up with her, and that's when I ended up seeing her with a limo in front of the school. Now, at this moment, I had no idea how this girl got a limo, but I was mind blown. And literally everyone in front of the school that was there was watching me just get into this thing. I remember when I got inside, I ended up looking at her and said, yo, okay, listen, I understand this is supposed to be the best date of my life, but I did not expect you to get a limo. Oh, trust me, we're just getting started, Bubba. Now, where do you want to go? Where do I want to go? Yeah, just say anywhere. At that moment, I didn't really know where to go, so I ended up saying the first thing that came to my mind, which was no surprise, the mall. She ended up smiling and she said, that's the perfect spot to go to. And me and her, we ended up going to the mall, and when we got there, I remember the first store we ended up going to was GameStop. And I am not joking. When we were in GameStop, I didn't want to buy anything because, well, I ended up spending most of my allowance on the game I bought yesterday. But then she ended up looking at me saying, Bubba, like, do you want anything? No, I'm good. It's okay. Because I didn't want her spending money on me. Going on with the story, I remember me and her, we ended up going out for food. We ended up getting some food at the food court. And then, well, one thing led to another. She ended up looking at me and she says, Bubba, can I buy you a new outfit for this date? You want to buy me clothes? Yeah, like, it'll only be a little bit of clothing. Okay, sure. So we ended up going to like different clothing stores, and she ended up buying me like a bunch of clothing. Like, I am not joking. She basically bought an entire wardrobe for me. She bought like 4 pairs of jeans, like 10 t-shirts, and like 4 pairs of shoes that I never heard of. And by the way, back when I was in grade 9, the only thing I wore was like jeans, a pair of Vans, and like a hoodie. Like, I was not in any way like a clothing fanatic. Going on with the story, I remember after she bought me a bunch of clothes, I ended up looking at her and said, okay, so this is pretty fun. Do you want to maybe go back to my place? What? Yeah, 100%. And then me and her, we ended up going inside the limo, but right as we got inside, she ended up looking at me and said, oh, I forgot to pick up something for myself. Can you, just stay here in the limo and just wait for me? Yeah, sure, no problem. She ends up getting out of the limo and she runs into the mall, and after like 5 minutes, she ends up coming back, but as she was coming back, she came out with 2 GameStop workers holding like some giant boxes. Now, at that moment, I had no idea what she bought from GameStop, but I was mind blown and was curious of what she got. Anyways, going on with the story, I remember we ended up finally getting back to my place. And when I ended up going inside my place, me and her went straight to the bedroom and put away all my clothes that she just bought for me. She ended up looking around my room and she saw that I had like my Xbox 360. She saw my gaming setup and she just looked at me and thought I was really cute. And while one thing led to another, we ended up basically making out and we ended up doing the Devil's Tango. Honestly, I was not complaining. Like, that was such a W, I won't lie. And this girl was like a 10 out of 10. But this is where things get insane, because after we ended up doing the tango, I remember I ended up going to the bathroom just to wash up. And when I came out of the bathroom and went to my bedroom again, I saw that there were 3 boxes wrapped up in like gift wrapping just sitting on my bed. At that moment, I looked at her and said, is this part of the date? Yeah, Bubba, I got you a gift. What'd you get me? Well, open it and see, silly. So at that moment, I ended up going up to my bed and I ended up opening these. And what I realized was that one box had an Xbox One in it. The other other box had a PS4 in it. And the last and final box had a Nintendo Switch. At that moment, I looked at her and thought she was insane for buying me all 3 next-gen consoles at the time. And I looked at her and said, wait, so you bought all these for me? Well, yeah, I knew you couldn't choose which system you wanted, so I just decided to get you all 3. I mean, damn, I just didn't expect it. What, do you not like it? Well, like, I don't know, wasn't this all like really expensive? Oh, don't worry, I bought it with this. At that moment, she ends up pulling out a card that was a black credit card. And at that moment, I looked at her and I said, wait, so you're telling me that you just bought it with that card? Yeah, this card apparently like never runs out of money. So my daddy just gives it to me just in case I ever need it for emergencies. And this was an emergency is what I asked her. At that moment, me and her started laughing. And that's when I realized in my mind that this girl never runs out of money. Which, don't get me wrong, I was not complaining, but this is where the story gets really bad. Because I remember when I sat down with her in my bed, we ended up just talking and stuff. And then that's when my father comes downstairs. Now, my dad usually never minded me having girls over. But when he saw this girl in my bed, he kind of freaked out because he said to me, Baba, what are you doing with this woman? What? Oh, nothing, Dad. She's just a friend from school. And that's when my dad told me to come to a different room and talk to him. And when I did, I remember he looked at me and said, Baba, you know her dad is the owner of the casinos of this town. She's a very dangerous woman. Don't be with her. Gambling is bad. At that moment, I realized that she was super rich because, well, her dad was apparently a casino owner, and that's apparently a really important person. I don't really know, but to be honest, my dad did not approve of her, and, well, I ended up having to break up with her weeks later after she bought me a ton of stuff. But I will say this, it was really fun dating a girl back in grade 9 that apparently never ran out of money. But if you guys do want a girl that is super rich and never runs out of money, then just fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.